Hi guys, welcome back to a new video. So today I'm going to be showing you how I annotate my books. I love annotating my books so much. I think it really just helps me connect with my books better. It helps me remember things better. And I also love to look back on my favorite quotes and moments from the book. That's easy when you're annotating. It also just makes the books look prettier, you know? So I'm going to be going through my different systems. I have different systems for different genres. I'm going to be showing you like how I tab, when I write in my books, the supplies that I use, all of that stuff. So let's just get into it. Okay, starting off with my supplies. The biggest thing is tabs. So I have all of these tabs and I love to match the color of the tabs to my book. I also have like the rainbow tabs and I'll show you like when I use the color tabs, like the rainbow tab. I get mine off of Amazon or sometimes like I'll find them in stores. It really is just random. I've been collecting like these tabs over a couple years now. So like it's just when I find them, I think I need them, but I have so many colors and I love it. Okay, next is post-it notes. I have like a billion different colors of post-it notes, like every color you could think of. I use post-it notes when I don't want to write in my books. I also have like these clear post-it notes, which I love because I only write in like the books that are special to me and I know I want to keep. I will like use a post-it if I like have a longer thought, and I'll use a bigger post-it. But I also have like these mini post-its in multiple colors again, and those are just for like quick thoughts, like cute or like something like that, like something dumb like that. But I use these when I have longer ideas or something longer that I want to say. I especially love using post-its in mystery thriller books because I like to guess what's going to happen. I like to guess like what the plot twist will be. So I use post-it notes to like write in like, as of right now, I think this person is the murderer or something like that. And then it's fun to look back like, oh, that's what I thought at this point in the book. Was I wrong? Was I right? You know, it's fun to look back at that. Next thing is highlighters. So I use the Zebra mild liners. These are my favorite highlighters in the world. I use them literally for everything, including annotating. There's also a ton of colors and the colors aren't too bright. That's why they're called mild liners instead of highlighters. I just love them so much. And I also use pens for underlining or writing notes off to the side when I do write in my books. So these are for when I write in my books. But I use the G2 Pilot pens or sometimes the Papermate pens, but G2 Pilot is definitely my favorite. And I keep a lot of my stuff in this bag. This is like my book annotating bag. So I keep a lot of like bookmarks. I use like these magnetic things as bookmarks. I keep some pens, but this pen is my favorite pen of all time. It is the Pentel Energel pen. I use this pen in school, like taking notes and honestly just like whenever I can. But I think they probably come in colors, but I usually just buy the black ones. And then I use the colored ones like underlining or if I want to use color. But these pens are like my favorite pens of all time. Okay, now I'm going to start getting into my methods for different genres. And I'm going to start off with fantasy. So I use the rainbow tabs for fantasy books. I have the same system every single time. And that system is on this index card. So I have all of these. I just buy these off of Amazon. You can find them just by looking up like rainbow sticky tabs or something like that. I use like the more square ones for bigger paragraphs. And I use the arrow ones for single lines that I want to annotate. Going into the system, pink is for like heartwarming or romance. Orange is for imagery or world building. Yellow is for happy moment. Green is for beautiful quotes that I want to remember. Blue is for sad moments. The dark purple indigo color is for moments that make me angry or where the character feels angry and I feel their emotion. And purple is for powerful moments or shocking moments. This system I found works best for me. In fantasy books, all fantasy books kind of have these same themes. If there is something else that I do want to annotate in a fantasy book, then I'll usually use a color that I haven't been using as much and I'll swap it out for that new theme that I would like to annotate. Here's one example. So this is Red Queen. This is the collector's edition, but you can see I have the rainbow tabs on the side and I can just go back and look at any of these things anytime. And this is an example where I used like the transparent sticky note because I didn't want to write directly in the book. So an example of the pink tab in this book is like this quote for Maven. If you know the book, there's a character named Maven. The main character Mare is complaining. She's like, they don't answer to me. No one does. No one does. So Maven, because they answered Maven because he's like a prince. He was like, you heard my bride. Let her go. Like, Oh my god, he's protecting her, like sticking up for her. This is an example of the orange quote. She is describing like the training hall. The floor feels soft and springy beneath my feet, cushioning each step. An immense skylight rises above us, showing a blue summer sky full of clouds to taunt me. I wanted to annotate that because it's just the way that the writing is done. It's like, whoa, like it really put me in the scene. I don't know, the way that she wrote that was good. For an example of yellow, she's says, I have to fight the urge to smile. Farley has been busy. Farley's like her best friend. But I was like, oh my gosh, Farley. She ate that scene. For green, for quotes, I have anyone can betray anyone, which actually repeats a lot in the book. I'm trying to do this without spoiling the book if you haven't read it, but I haven't spoiled anything, I promise. Anyone can betray anyone repeats in the book. So I marked it every time it repeated so I could go back to like that time, like this is what was happening when she said that. This is what was happening when she said it. So I love going back. Like I love quotes that repeat like that. They like change their meaning. For blue, for sad moments. This isn't a spoiler. It sounds like one, but I promise it's not. She says, I think he was my first real friend. And she was explaining like that he died, which was sad. But I guess that's kind of a spoiler, but like it's not that big, I promise. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling. For an indigo moment, it's like when she first gets to the castle and they're like not treating her very well because she's like, they don't really know her and she's of red blood. So I'm like, dang, like that's mean. And that made me angry. And then for a purple, like powerful or shocking moments, it was at the beginning when she like first found out she had powers for the first time. That part was cool. So that was an example of how I used it in Red Queen. I also have been annotating Atlas 6 like this. Atlas 6 is a lot more in-depth book. Like, yes, it's fantasy, but I guess I could annotate other things, but I've just been using this system because it has been working well for this book. I haven't finished it. It's taking me a really long time to finish it because it just makes me think a lot and sometimes I don't want to do that. That is how I annotate fantasy books. Okay, the next genre I'm going to go into is romance. So this is when I use like my colorful tabs and I make them match the book. And I choose 3 tabs that match the cover and I have like the same system. So the first tab is like funny or happy moments. The second tab is like when there's tension between the characters or like they have something but like neither of them will admit that like that something is there. Like when something happens and they're like, oh my god, and then like especially the main character or usually the female main character, like you're following along with her and like in her thought she's like, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened, or like, am I falling for him, or stuff like that. And then the third tab is like cute moments that happen between them, which is different than funny happy, because funny happy is just like things in the book that make, or like quotes that make me happy, or like quotes I want to remember. Funny, like when someone's being funny and I'm like, wow, they're so funny for that, or something like that. But then the tension is like, especially for enemies to lovers books, like, you know, like they're fighting, but it's like maybe angry love confession, like I don't know. And then the cute moments is like, oh, they're just doing something cutie, like going on a date that's like not actually a date but it is, stuff like that. So I'll show you Beach Read because I'm reading it right now. I'm in the middle of annotating it. And this one actually has 4 tabs because I wanted to add another tab in for like moments that are more emotional and sad, because I know that Emily Henry books are like more real and the characters have real life problems, and it's more than just a cute romance book. Like this book is amazing. I think I've hit the halfway mark now. This might be my favorite romance book I've ever read. I don't know. But you can see the tabs that match the cover. So like a happy or funny moment would be this quote, which made me happy when I read it. The world was cast in shades of blue and silver, the gentle rush of the tide breaking on the sand made louder by the silence of the rest of the world. A gust of wind blew off the treetops, making me shiver, and I tightened the robe around me, draining my wine glass, then turning back to the house. But I was reading this and it was like, that is so lake life, because they're at a lake house, or she's at a lake house, and we go to a lake house every summer and it's like my favorite part of the year almost. I just love being at the lake so much. This was actually right before I read that, right before I went to the lake. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to go to the lake in like a day or a couple days whenever I read this. So like a more emotional moment would be like when she's explaining, this isn't a spoiler, it happens, like you find out literally first chapter, but like her dad died and she's talking about it. She found out that her dad was cheating on her mom right like before he passed away. So she's like, my reality like is distorted. Like, I don't know what's real anymore, because she always imagined her parents have like this, having this like amazing love. And then so her talking about that was like, dang, that's sad. And in this book, I didn't really do like tension. I just called it like Gus and January, who are the two main characters, because they're not really like enemies to lovers. So there isn't really like tension, but it's just like moments. So this moment, she's talking about a dedication for her parents in her first book. And then Gus, from his head, he like repeated the dedication, and she was like, what? You've read my book? And then she felt bad, like, but like he repeated, like he remembered her book dedication. Like, oh my God. And then for like a cute moment, he offered to drive January home, and she was like, I don't know you, because this is when they like first kind of met. She was like, I don't know you. And they were like having this banter, and I was loving it. So that's an example in Beach Read. This is an example of like a completed book, what it looks like. It's so satisfying because the tabs match the cover. So it's so satisfying like at the end. And then also like here's an example of using a post-it note for a longer thought, like another example, and then like a little post-it note for a smaller thought. And the final genre that I annotate my books is fiction. So this is just like maybe literary fiction or just fiction. It isn't like specifically romance or something like that. But with that, I usually choose 4 to 6 colors, just depending on what the themes are of that book. And I also don't really like decide the themes until I've read a little bit at first, and I know like what I want to annotate. And I also kind of look up like themes in this book, and then that helps me decide also what I want to annotate. So an example of song is Song of Achilles. So this one only had 3 tabs, and it was beautiful quotes, it was love or happy moments, and then sad moments. Madeline Miller is my favorite author, and she has a ton of beautiful quotes. Like this one, some people might have mistaken this for simplicity, but is it not a sort of genius to cut always to the heart? Whoa. She just, like, her writing is so good. I need her to write like 10 more books. For like the love or happy moments, this one, I will never leave him. I will be this always for as long as he will let me. Stop! Like, oh my God. And then for sad quotes, like, I did not plan to live after he was gone. But that's not a spoiler. I don't want you to think I'm spoiling the book for you. I'm not. Please read this book. Please read Circe too if you haven't. And then another example is Magnolia Parks, which I'm reading right now. For this one, I actually used 7 tabs. So I have quotes, happy moments or just like vibes, like happy vibes, sad, love, angry or toxic. Then I have one for Magnolia and one for BJ, because it's like the point of view switches between Magnolia and BJ. And it's not very far right now, but once this is done, it'll look so good. Now I'm going to talk more about when I write in my books and what I do when I write in my books. So I'm going to bring up Song of Achilles again. So I wrote in this book. I didn't decide to write in it until after I'd finished it. I never decide to write in a book until after I finish it. And I will go back in to every single one of my tabs, and I will highlight places and like highlight, underline the things that I have like sticky tabs for. I'll just write straight into the book. I write in books that I know like I will love forever, and I never want to get rid of these books. Circe is another example, but I want to do a reread and then write in it then. I haven't. Circe's actually unannotated because I just knew that a book would like be so good, and I just like didn't want to annotate it for my first read. I do want to read it again though, and I want to annotate it and have quotes. Kiwi wanted to come and say hello. But this is when I would use like my pens and highlighters. So for this book, I chose a blue highlighter and a blue pen, and I would underline paragraphs or like larger sections, and then I highlighted like the smaller lines within that paragraph. So like here, I only highlight like the most important parts, or like if there's dialogue, I only highlight the dialogue, like the actual dialogue, but I'll underline everything. And I also use a ruler when underlining, so the lines are straight. Now here's like another example. But yeah, the last thing I want to talk about is my reading journal. So this is my reading journal. I just put like book related stickers on it. and I have this thing on the side. Here is like the cover page, but I just use this to write longer thoughts. Like I usually update like every 50 pages. I'll put the book cover in. Here's an example for Magnolia Parks. I'll put the book cover in, and then this is like at page 53. I have like a good, like what I'm thinking of the book so far. And I actually just recently started doing this, so I'll probably use Post-its less often because this, like, I have more space in this and I can write like my long form thoughts. I also want to say, I mentioned this earlier, but mystery and thriller, I didn't have a section for that because I usually don't annotate mystery and thriller except for like the Post-it notes where I will write in like my thoughts, but I think I'm gonna start doing that in my journal. So my mystery thriller books are unannotated usually. But that is all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope it helped you if you don't know how to annotate or if you wanted ideas on how to annotate your books. This is the method that has worked best for me for like the past 3 years now. I'll probably keep using this for a while, and I love annotating because it helps me just remember what I'm reading and I can go back and just look at what I was thinking when I read the book. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. That's all, and I'll see you on Saturday.